Cold sweat flowed down my temple as my car drove along a quiet road in Ohio. Tall trees lining the roadside looked like pitch-black shadows moving slowly every time my headlights brushed over them. The night wind pierced through the slightly open window, but it wasn't strong enough to keep me awake. My eyes were heavy. Each lid felt like it was layered with sand. The digital clock on the dashboard showed 11:02 p.m. It was too late to be out on the road, and my body was starting to rebel, demanding rest. The GPS on my phone showed that I was approaching a small town called Xenia. I'd never heard of it before, but on the map, it was the only lit dot in this area. The last place I could stop before driving into a vast stretch of empty forest that expanded for miles ahead. I decided to pull over and find a place to stay the night. My car had also started making strange noises, like a muffled cough from an old engine being forced to keep going without rest. A few minutes later, at the end of the dark road, a red neon light flickering erratically came into view. The letters slowly formed the words Xenia Country Inn. One of the letters was completely dead, making the motel look like it hadn't been maintained since forever. It was a 2-story building that looked like an artifact left behind from the past. The paint was peeling like dead skin, and the windows were covered in cardboard, some with faded tape hanging limply at the edges. There were no other cars in the parking lot, only mine. But I had no choice. I parked near the reception area, a small building with thick glass that seemed to be installed not just for security, but to separate the outside world from something darker inside. On the glass window, a worn-out paper sign read, "No refund," stuck at an angle. A dim yellow bulb hung from the ceiling, flickering like it was about to die. I looked at my reflection in the glass for a moment, pale, tired, and anxious. I opened the door. There was no bell sound, only the noise of an old fan spinning slowly in the corner, producing a low hum that was deafening in the silence. Behind the reception desk, an old man with thick glasses was sitting hunched over a yellowed newspaper. He didn't even glance up when I walked in. "One night," I said. The man slowly raised his eyes. No expression. $65, he muttered, his voice hoarse like someone who rarely speaks. I swiped my credit card, and he handed me a heavy metal key, not an electronic card. Room 13, first floor. Room 13's door was tightly locked, and the key barely turned. After several attempts, I heard a loud click, as if something had opened it from the inside. The moment I entered, the smell hit me, like mothballs mixed with rotting meat. I turned on the light. The bed had brownish stains on the sheet, a dull blue carpet that felt damp underfoot. A mirror above the sink was cracked, forming a pattern like a spider's web. I threw my bag onto the couch and tried turning on the TV. Only static. But between the white noise, sometimes a shadow of a face appeared. Probably hallucinations from exhaustion. I lay down, trying to sleep, but whispers from behind the wall kept me awake. "Don't sleep, he's coming." I ignored it until, bam! Someone knocked on my window. Shaking, I looked outside. A man was standing there, his face pale, his eyes too wide. "Please, I'm sick," he said, his voice hoarse. but what froze me, his teeth were black, like they were rotting. I shook my head and closed the curtain. He laughed. His voice sounded like tearing paper. I tried sleeping again. Suddenly, my blanket was pulled slowly. My chest pounded. Slowly, I turned my head. A tall figure stood at the end of the bed. Not the man from before. This one was taller, darker. "Don't move," he whispered. His voice echoed as if coming from everywhere at once. His hand, his fingers were too long, reached from my wallet on the floor. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. Then he vanished. I ran out of the room at dawn. The old receptionist was still there, smiling too wide. "Sleep well?" he asked. I told him everything. He only shook his head. "Room 13 is always empty. No other guests last night." But when I handed back the key, there was blood on my hand. And in the motel mirror, someone's reflection was still standing behind me, smiling. A week later, I searched for news about Xenia Country Inn. Turned out, 30 years ago, a man had been strangled to death in room 13. His body was only found a week later. And the scariest part, the victim was known for his black teeth.